Wrestling creative teams are, for the most part, absolutely mental. In the past, they've pushed beating women, midgets, necrophilia, murder, and more dog shit than an Adam Cleary what culture list. They have, admittedly, pulled out some absolute crackers, but people tend to remember the worst, and there are certainly a fair few of those. Frozen Nazis, anyone? And the thing is that some of these terrible gimmicks have come about because talents have refused one storyline and been lumbered with a terrible one as punishment. Yet sometimes a superstar can go toe-to-toe with the creative minds and come out on top. It's a tactic certainly not recommended, but there are a fair few that have bitten the hand that Mae Young birthed and asked for more. With this in mind, I'm Jules of WhatCulture.com, and these are 8 wrestlers who butted heads with creative and won. But before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to stay notified. Ding! Ding, done. Number 8. Molly Holly. Molly Holly, aka the more rational member of the family, was so irked by the fact that WrestleMania XX wasn't due to feature a women's title match that she began pestering Vince McMahon to change his mind. In the end, she got him to cave after pitching something radical, a never-before-seen storyline whereby the loser of the bout between her and Victoria would have their head shaved bald, live on the grandest stage of them all. You might be thinking that receiving a high-profile match in exchange for all of your hair is kind of a raw deal, but number 1, hair grows back. Sometimes, shut up, I don't want to talk about it. And 2, she was the original ANTI-DIVA. Going bold was a powerful statement of non-conformity at a time when the company was pushing Playboy evening gown matches. And remember, bold is beautiful. That's what my mum told me. Number 7, Scott Hall. Because of his association with Hulk Hogan and Kevin Nash, a lot of people thought that Scott Hall was a bit of an egomaniac. Well, this didn't appear to be the case back in his WCW days when he decided to go against the orders of creative and put over a younger guy instead. That guy was Chris Jericho, and during the match he told Y2J to roll him up and he'd take the heat for the pin backstage. That's pretty nice of the bad guy to do that for the young lion and to defy Eric Bischoff. It's just a shame that his determination to put over the younger guys never really rubbed off on the NWO leader. Number 6, John Cena. The internet wrestling community is forever accusing John Cena of deliberately keeping the young guys down, but there's only one real concrete piece of evidence to have to support that, namely SummerSlam 2010. Originally booked to lose against the white-hot Nexus, Cena was said to have butted heads with creative just before the show went on air, insisting that he and the rest of Team WWE should come out on top. For reasons that we still don't fully understand, they caved to his demands. Big Match John put Wade Barrett and Justin Gabriel away in 25 seconds, and the whole angle fell apart. Edge and Chris Jericho have since gone on record to say that they weren't on board with the decision, and even Cena himself apparently came to regret his actions in retrospect. But that didn't stop you though, did it, John? Number 5, Ric Flair. Jim Herd does not sound like the type of man who should have ever been allowed to manage a wrestling promotion. Yet there he was in the early 1990s trying to get Ric Flair to change his gimmick to a Roman gladiator called Spartacus and shave his bleached blonde hair. Flair wasn't having any of it and point-blank refused to go along with Herd's plans, a standoff that eventually saw him stripped of the World Heavyweight Championship and then fired from the company altogether on the eve of the Great American Bash. Aha, take that, Blondie! Herd probably thought to himself before seeing his balls retract inside him when Flair signed with the WWE, won the 1992 Royal Rumble, and then defended the WWE belt at WrestleMania. Yeah, I'd say that Flair did pretty well out of that. Number 4, Shawn Michaels. Shawn Michaels is one of the best in-ring talents of all time. Offstage, though, he sounds like an absolute prick, constantly running to Vince to stay in the spotlight if so much as a shadow looked to cross his path. Vader felt the sting of this because Michaels complained about his stiff in-ring style and called him careless. Vader was meant to go over, but as a result of Shawn's complaining, Michaels retained his belt at SummerSlam 1996, and Vader became one of the most over wrestlers to never wear the big strap. Another example of Shawn Michaels warring with creative masters came in 1997, when the Heartbreak Kid was feuding with the British Bulldog over the European Championship. Now, Bulldog was supposed to lose the belt in the UK, making Michaels a mega heel, then win the belt back a couple of months later. However, HBK decided to play the game of you and said no to dropping the belt back and instead convinced creative that Triple H, his best bud in the world, would be right for the title. And wouldn't you know it, he got his way. Number 3, Alundra Blayze. Imagine being the top talent of your division, complete with championship belt, but hear rumblings that the company is thinking of axing you to save a few quid. Such was the fate of ALUNDRA BLAYZE. However, because she was champ, creative had to try to convince her to lose before her contract expired, which she refused to do. Instead, BLAYZE rocked up on Nitro, reprising her old in-ring name of Medusa with Vince McMahon's belt, throwing it into a trash can live on air in one of the most infamous moments of the Monday Night Wars. The Impact made a mockery of her former employer and established her position in her new stomping grounds near the top of the bill, all in the time that it took for the tin to hit the bin. Number 2. Steve Austin. Even Stone Cold Steve Austin, one of wrestling's most enduring heroes, didn't manage to retire without once or twice coming to blows with creative. The most famous example of this being his refusal to job to Brock Lesnar in 2002. His reasons for doing so weren't entirely selfish, in fairness. He wasn't so much disgusted by the idea of losing to a rookie, but was concerned that his defeat required more than a build-up of just a few weeks. In the end, Austin dug his heels in so far into the ground that WWE had to scrap their plans altogether. He then left the company temporarily, but returned a short while later, still able to command a headline spot at WrestleMania X1X, or 19. And the company have been in love with him ever since. And number 1, Hulk Hogan. Of course it's going to be Hulk Hogan. How else could this list end? The man's got a list of backstage politicking that rivals your mother's tally of lovers this week. There's my one per list. He refused to lose to Bret Hart, not believing that the Hitman was big enough to take him, but was totally happy to go and steal his thunder in 1993 when he beat Yokozuna for the championship. His time in WCW might as well have been called This Is Mine and This Is Mine and This Is Mine, but his funniest moment came at the hands of previous diva HBK in 2005. This was the pair's first meeting, and while Hogan was always going to win, it was meant to set up a best-of series which would see the Heartbreak Kid get the better of him in their rematch. This didn't sit too well with the Hulkster, let me tell you, brother, so it was a one-and-done affair with no rematch. And no one would have been the wiser if it weren't for SHAWN turning their match into an acting spectacle that even Tommy Wiseau would have called too on the nose. Michaels comically oversold everything and highlighted just how ridiculous the event was. So while Hulk Hogan might have won backstage, HBK got the better of him in the ring in his own way.
Oh, wasn't that something? Don't forget to like, share and subscribe below, and also the people who made this lovely video, they're appearing right here. But if you're thinking to yourself, I want to see more content, Jules, then why not look above my head, as there probably is some. I don't know. I can't see it. Until next time.